What is going on, everybody? Here back with another Honkai Star Rail video, and today I'm here with my first impressions of Mydei. So just like my other first impression videos, I'm going to be going over what I expected before, leading up to his release. Finally, he did release, and how much I got to test him, and what I do think currently. As this banner has now been out for a few days, I do have my general opinion on what I do think. So yeah, before I get to the video, if you guys found this video helpful or enjoyable in any way, shape, or form, drop a like would be greatly appreciated. If you're new or haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon for future videos like this, along with all other types of Star Rail content. And let's get straight into the video. So leading up to his release, when he was revealed, Mydei was the character I was one of the most hyped for out of the entire Amphorius cast. A lot of them were cool. There's very few I didn't like. There was practically only one I planned on skipping. But for the most part, I wanted to get everyone in Amphorius. He was the one that I wanted to go most ham on besides Anaxa, but it's, been a change of plans for me. Just because his design, when he got revealed, he looked like it was primarily Gilgamesh, but also with a hint of Karna from Fate as well. But that was only in his actual initial reveal art. He looked a lot more like Karna than Gilgamesh to me. But once they finally gave out the art and we got the model, then it was a lot more apparent that it was more Gilgamesh than Karna. And if you guys don't know, you guys probably do know considering my name and my profile, I'm a big Fate head. Don't play FGO as much as I used to, but I still have it. I still have my account and I'm still pretty big into it. So any remotely resembling Fate character is a super hype for me, and so him being the resemblance of one or the other was super cool to me, and I'm like, yep, this is gonna be someone I must get. So he gets drip marketed, imaginary, my favorite element, so I was pretty happy about that. But if they're a man, they're most likely gonna be imaginary or physical, because you know how Hoyo is. But yeah, destruction, I was like, alright, cool, probably gonna be a crit DPS. We had a general idea that he's gonna be HP draining with some info going around at the time, so that was cool. So after the drip marketing, a little after, once we got to the update, and then we did have the kit be revealed and such. Initially, a lot of people did say he did seem weak. I thought he was fine, honestly. Multipliers were good. I definitely did see some flaws in his kit, but I definitely thought, he'd still be a lot better than people were saying. But he did have changes and some tweaks as the versions went on, as everyone does. Mostly were buffs, which is the good part, so he became a lot stronger as it went on, easier to use. I think less HP drain. I might be mixing that up with someone else though. And another thing that most people probably don't know about me, but I am someone who very much likes the idea of losing HP to get stronger. That has been one of my favorite things for the longest time in any form of gaming. Anytime there's a chance where I could lose HP to get stronger, I always go for it. I do it in Monster Hunter, I did it in Elden Ring, I do it in Souls games if I can. It's just been something that I've been really liking, and so since Blade did that, he was practically one of the only ones and was the main one that would do it. He was one of my favorite characters to use, but we know what happened to Blade. So after years and years, after like a year-ish, we finally were getting another character that was super cool, and was finally having the other thing where he HP drains, gets stronger, more HP you consume, more charge you can get this big attack and go crazy. So seeing all his animations, originally I wasn't the biggest fan of them, but the more I looked at them, I'm like, oh, they're pretty short and they're actually pretty damn impactful. And then I heard the sound effects and stuff, and I'm like, this guy is really cool. I already knew he was gonna be sick, but was really glad that the animations did grow on me. These sound effects are just phenomenal. I think that's an underrated thing in a lot of animations. A lot of people don't pay attention to the sound effects. When the sound effects are super beefy, then it always just feels super nice. There's not really many characters in the game that have really nice hitting sound effects. When it comes to animations, I don't really like Jinglu, but I will give it to her that the ultimate is cool and the sound effect is phenomenal. But yeah, sound effects, the fact that they gave me such cool sound effects was a W. But yeah, so as the kit was changing and it was just getting tweaked, buffed a little bit, I think some parts were nerfed as time went on. It was cool to see we finally getting another HP based character. Again, it was a little scary as well because we didn't have an HP based healer, because we didn't have an HP based support or anything, but then we had Trivi RMC with the true damage sludge, so slightly filler there. That was one of my only gripes though, because I was kind of scared if something like Blade would happen again, because Blade, the whole issue was he never really got support and we never really had an HP meta. Blade also had some really questionable ways he was made, because some of his attacks go off attack when his primary source of scaling is HP. It still is just primarily HP, but he did have something that went off attack for some ungodly reason. But the main thing was we just didn't have HP related support, so he had a lot of issues not having a taunt, not having HP buffs. The biggest buff he really got was the fact that we got Jade, who was allowing him to get 2 stacks, but the thing is his damage still just was not high enough. So I was scared Mydei would actually end up falling in that troop as well, but thankfully we did have Tribi, the E1 Tribi, true damage sources, especially when we have someone like Sunday now who gives energy, which is really good for Mydei for his ultimate. The buffs that Sunday provides is just super crucial as well, especially with how simple it can be. It's difficult, but can be simple at the same time to build Mydei himself. Stats you can get on him, really crazy. Modern multiplier, so he actually does hit really hard. So seeing his numbers hit a lot harder than it was for comparatively to Blade back then. Blade back then was super good when he came out, obviously. But I think the multipliers of what he had back in his day, I think the fact that what Mydei hits now compared to what we do have DPS-wise is still a lot more modern and just is a lot better than it was to Blade when he came out. So yeah, seeing good multipliers, the changes for the better, you know, having a really good light cone, especially because he didn't really have many damage down sources. His light cone was a big jump. Super hype. We finally get to the release, which a few days ago, you know, I got my summons. I got rolled, unfortunately, lost a lot of money. So that soured my mood a bit, but then I got to actually use him, and he is so goddamn strong. I don't find him the easiest to zero cycle just yet, but that's also because I haven't really dabbled into running S5 DDD on supports and such yet. And just like with some other characters, it really depends on what half he's being ran on, because on one side, he's super easy to zero cycle with. On the other side, it's almost impossible right now. Well, again, impossible. I haven't really dabbled into it too much. But his damage output, oh my god, even without the E1, the Gods Are Begot especially, just does such insane damage. It hits so hard. All sources of damage he does just hit so hard. Once he is using King Serbi King, that enhanced attack just hits so hard. You could already tell in the background footage how much numbers I'm hitting. Flexible to use sustainless because I'm someone that loves doing sustainless runs, so the fact he actually works really well on that despite being an HP drained character is super nice, thanks to the fact that he does have up to 3 revives. So him being able to be ran sustainless and just have pure damage output is just so good. Seeing the big numbers on, again, King Serbi King, his ultimate just feels so beefy with those sound effects and just when he crushes the crystals, and then seeing it actually hit really big numbers. You know, I'm just gonna give a comparative kind of thing right now. I'm just gonna bring in Genshin right here because there's another character that has such a beefy ultimate and also just really good sound effects, but their ultimate is just so yikes. It's actually Arlecchino or Arlecchino, however you want to say it. Her ultimate is so goddamn cool, and the sound effects are so beefy, but it's so weak, and it's just an emergency heal pretty much. Unless you have C6, obviously, because that unlocks the damage multiplier to go absolutely absurd and just nuke. But pre-E6, it just doesn't feel like it does that much. It's just an emergency heal. You know, one basic attack does the same damage pretty much. But having someone like Mydei, who has that ultimate, the really cool animation, and the also very beefy sound effects, very powerful crush on the crystal, and actually seeing big numbers on the ultimate, properly full sustainless comp, always doing over 1 million pretty much, is just so cool. Everything about his kit just plays so well together. You can use the ultimate to change the kind of targeting of Gods Are Begot, you know, have the taunt actually go towards him so he's constantly getting hit, losing HP, getting more charge. It's super fun. The real only issue I really have with him is just like what anyone else has, you know, the auto. I don't dislike it as much as other people do because, you know, it's still, you know, for the most part, he attacks what I would. There are times where I wish I could control him here so I could attack someone else rather than what he's attacking, but for the most part, the auto on Mydei actually attacks what I would attack anyways, so it really doesn't matter to me, but it still would be nice to just have a bit of control. I know a lot of other people have a lot more complaints on that than I do. That practically is the only bit of a downside I can have with him. But yeah, he's just been super fun to use. I definitely don't think he's my favorite DPS. I think I have a lot more fun with Aglia and the follow-up team. He is definitely up there. I'd put him around with Bootil and Yunli, which were tied for one of my second-ish favorites. Right now, my favorite DPS alone is Aglia, but I think as a team, it's still the follow-up team. And then below those would be Bootil and Yunli, and I think Mydei actually just goes tied with that. He is a lot of fun to use. There's practically no complaints from me. Just seeing the big numbers, the big beefy hits, everything in his kit just playing well. There's nothing really bad going on in his kit, you know, besides the auto, but again, I already gave my opinion on that. Relatively flexible team options as well. If, you know, I've tried him without Tribute using RMC. I've tried him without using Sunday and using Sparkle Hyperspeed instead. Unfortunately, I can't have a main -1 speed build, which is his best build with Sunday, but unfortunately, I just don't have the relics to do that yet. I have tested it, obviously, but I just have not found around to actually have it on my main account properly. And I prefer having my Sunday at 160 plus speed because, you know, it's just better for my other DPSs. A -1 speed, 160 speed with Sparkle instead of Sunday, all that stuff just really good. Obviously, it's a lot weaker to have Sparkle over Sunday and then RMC over Tribi because, you know, they're just the better options. And so replacing better options obviously would mean you were going to perform worse, but he still performs really, really well with that. It's really funny to see the technically anti-synergy with Ruan Mei because you don't want to break them because they'll imprison them and then they can't attack you. Actually be one of the better options just because of the damage that she gives is so important for him because he doesn't have really anything in his kit for the damage dealt besides his Lycone, which isn't part of his base kit. So it's funny to see that, but in a sustain list kind of thing, I could just throw her on there. So it'd be Sunday, Tribi, and then Ruan Mei, and then Mydei. And then just have that team go absolutely insane, and it does a bunch of damage. Enemies just practically get melted. I really do hope I can get the E1. Unfortunately, I do not have the E1, and I cannot spend my way there because I am unfortunately paying off other things right now. I really do hope I can get it by the end of the banner because it's such a big power spike for his God Sir Be God. But I'm completely fine with his performance at E0, S0, E0, S1. With the free-to-play Lycones, he's fine. I've used him with Blade Lycone. He's still really, really good with Blade's Lycone because it's his second best option. Again, with his actual Lycone, he gets the biggest jump because it gives him so much damage dealt, which he has practically no source of it, as I mentioned. Also giving him more max HP, making it easier to build. But again, even without Blade Lycone or his own signature Lycone, just the Rappa LC is really, really good still. Really good damage numbers. And then with Blade Lycone, or especially his signature, his damage is skyrockets at E0. He's just super good. And if you have E1, he's just that much more stronger because his God Sir Be God already doing all that damage. And now imagine it's fully AoE with primary damage increased. Often my God Sir Be God can already hit for 2 million-ish. I can practically imagine that doubling if I did have the E1, but unfortunately we'll have to see if I can get it or not. I'll have to pray I get it early because I'm only like 20-ish pity. But if I don't, at least that's easy castress, I guess. And then I'll just have to pick it up on a rerun. But yeah, I've tested it again. It's just super, super strong. Really, 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 really fun unit to use. Very, very strong. Even with more budget team options, he performs very, very well. His kit just functions super, super well together, even without dupes, or if you had the Rappa Lycone instead of any premium option, it's completely fine. He just performs really good. MOC, he just deletes enemies in pure fiction. He's a bit on the weaker side, but still performs very, very well. And then at APOC, the plus side is once you do break the enemies, they take so much more damage, and his damage, if you are able to break them with a big hit, then they practically just get broken and also die. So in all three modes, I think he's performing really, really well. And so my first impressions is I'm very, very satisfied. Super, super fun unit. Flows really well to use. Very, very, very high damage output. And so I'm very satisfied. And so yeah, that is my first impressions of Mydei. If you guys summoned for him as well, let me know your guys' first impressions of him because again, it's only been a few days since his banners came out. Are you guys having as much fun as I am with him? Are you guys as satisfied of his performance? Feel free to discuss. Peace out.